talk to the trees, but they don't listen to me. I talk to the stars, they never hear me. The breeze having time to stop.
Good morning. October 31st, Halloween 2018, and welcome to my headquarters in Camp Satyagraha, northern Maine, in New Eden, Sweden. New Eden and Sweden. New Sweden. So anyway, good morning. I've been sitting here thinking and drinking coffee and enjoying the fruits of my garden for a few hours now, since before the sun rose, and I will have to be going outside, and don't have to, but I will be going out because it's been raining for days, and now I'm going to get out and start doing some outside work before the winter snows really take over. What I wanted to do today is just say hello. I have a specific purpose, and that's to explain something about how I got here to this place right now. And I have like a lot of friends and people I know from all these different time periods and continents and places and situations, and everyone has Okay, let me rephrase. I have been like in all these places and situations, and some people. It's basically I want to explain for anybody who had some question. Not that I want to make myself the focus of anything, but I like clarity, and I like truth, and I like comprehension and understanding. And so a good place to start is, with what you can know, hopefully the best, which would be yourself and your own experience. So, what I'm getting at is that some people, basically I'm making this video to put onto probably for Facebook, where I think I have I don't know, like a lot of people, hundreds of friends from all over the timeline, and from people that I've known for virtually since I was here in the world, to people I just met in passing and in transit, and planes, trains, and automobiles, caravans, malls, jails, beaches, everywhere. So if somebody, oh yeah, and some people, there's people out there who probably are aware of me somehow, who have all different kind of orientations and perspectives over, I was trying to say it delicately, but I suppose there's no real delicate way, that there's a lot of people who think I'm a total lunatic, people who are afraid of me, people who love me, people who think I'm just this or that. I actually am aware of some people's opinions sometimes. I don't really focus on it, but I can't help but be aware. Through various channels, I have knowledge of uh, some limited knowledge of how I may have been perceived, and it's to that that I make this video to provide clarity. For example, if somebody was to meet me in some like expensive restaurant or fancy hotel or resort or in some like like more elite or in the company of the famous and wealthy or something like this, then they would have like this. They might make some different assumptions. Like some people think that I'm incredibly wealthy. Other people think I'm incredibly poor, and both are kind of correct. So, I mean, actually, there's also the fact that, like, say, people who have known me in the last 5 years, it was almost 5 years ago that I quit drinking alcohol. But anyone who hasn't seen me since before that would only know me as even if I wasn't obvious, as constantly full of alcohol for the full time before all those years before. People that meet me in the last 5 years, some of them probably couldn't imagine what I was like when I was a drinker or when I carried a gun versus now. And so these changes and these different situations, like this video is not going too well. I'm not happy with it, but I will continue just in case I decide to use it anyway. Because, I'm just like a real person sitting here in my cabin trying to take care of a couple details that I've been thinking of for a while before I go out and try to do some construction and firewood cutting and general forestry. So, how am I here? How am I here in this cabin? And am I poor or am I wealthy? If people like, oh yeah, and sometimes I traveled in so many different disguises and present such different uh, pictures in different situations. Like some people, if they met me certain times, would have only saw like a homeless man. Other people would see only a crazy man. Other people would see like a business consultant or an attorney or a counselor or a salesman or whatever. Like everybody, all these different like covers and things, but they're only like just partial, like just glimpses of the story. And what I wanted to say was that I was living down in Washington D.C. in 2000, early 2000s, 2004, 5, no, 2005, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that, 2008, and well, basically, I had lots of money and I had like almost 4.0 average in my master's program at the University of Maryland, University College, and was married to a beautiful, young, intelligent, ambitious, exotic woman with who was making as much money as I was. So together with very high credit rating, no debts at all, everything paid off. Out, $30,000 in the checking account, money in 401ks, and endless credit, and on track to move up to the next level of the hierarchy and the salary level in the Metro Washington D.C. area through getting graduate degree and then another degree and then continuing up to the corner office and the top floor and all these kind of things, whether it's in a corporation or a not-for-profit or in the government, it's the same idea. And had succeeded with some difficulty in getting into the system and then starting to reap the benefits of being in the system, including not really being satisfied until I made the decision that this was all some form of mass insanity that I was involved in, that I started to call it the robot world. And I said, I have to get out of here. And I decided everybody was trying to become independently wealthy, the ideal of American society to have wealth and be independent to do what you want, the big dream of freedom that's promoted by all the multi-level marketing and all of the bait and switch and pyramid style schemes out there. But I realized that wealth is relative, and therefore to be wealthy, someone else has to be poor. If we're all wealthy, then how are you wealthy and I'm wealthy? Or how will you know you're wealthy? You're not wealthy, you all are. You are, and actually we all are. We just being. But then we say, no, I want to be wealthy. How can I get wealthy? Well, I have to have more than you. Then I'm wealthy. And then so independently wealthy, plus the whole idea of independence is totally ludicrous because interdependence is the rule. But independence becomes a goal for people that are lost in competitive mental illness. And so I said to myself, I will become independently poor, saying that poor is more morally healthy choice than wealth because it doesn't beggar your neighbor and doesn't enslave him. Because how could you be really wealthy if you don't have slaves or servants? If you can't afford a servant or a slave, you're not really wealthy, are you? And you can't do that if someone's not there to be poor and enslaved. So I decided to become independently poor. And I left my beautiful wife and I left my master's program with 1 year to go and with a high average and with nothing to stop me from having a master's degree and going up in salary and soon having even more tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars and any kind of car, any kind of thing, buy anything. I could have bought anything I wanted on my credit card. The things that I want now that I don't have yet, like a sailboat or this or that, or a tractor for my farm, or some horses or whatever, that I could have then bought on a credit card just like that. I had all that things. The reason I make this point is not like I'm trying to brag or whatever. I mean, I was not like some wealthy person. I just was in like the middle ranks of coming up after being kind of a outsider, not really being part of it most of my life. So anyway, but I left all that and came up. I searched the whole country and found Maine to be the ideal location for someone like me. And I came up and put a tent in the woods in 2009, no, in 2010, after buying searching all 2009 and finally buying this place where I'm sitting now. And so the reason I tell this story is because I want to make clear that, like, if you happen to see me, sleeping under a bridge or on the sidewalk or something like that, or in some like strange situation, it's not because I don't know how to get into the system and suckle on the belly of the Mammonite sow, but I actually didn't want to anymore. And I have achieved my objective for the most part. However, when I first came up here, I had in mind to write a book, and I was going to write it, How I Escaped the Robot World and Became Independently Poor. But then things happened. I was actually working for a while after I was up here in Maine due to issues with my children and so on. I ended up down in Portland, Maine, and worked and made relatively lots of money in cash till I had pocket full of cash that I didn't hardly know what to do with. And that was a few years back in Maine, but I ended up leaving all that behind. But the thing is, I kind of deliberately let all my money go freely, and that has to do with it was intentional. It looks crazy. A lot of the things that I've been involved in look and may be crazy, but I've had a certain amount of intentionality to what I've been doing. I judge by different standards than other people, and so. But if I was given enough time, and that would be quite a lot of time, I could probably explain and the reason for everything, the reason for how things have gone, or not the reason for everything. I mean the reason for why, for some of the why I would say I'm on the right track, even though, and even like things that looked really, that people judge badly, are, I've never been really fully heard on why I do what I do, and I'm not trying to be fully heard now. I'm just laying out the basic things. Maybe that was a wrong decision, you could say, to leave the robot world and to abandon society, but I think it's the right one. And if I could start pulling up all sorts of different sources and doing lessons on previous thinking on all these different issues like freedom and wealth and morality and money but the point is that and so I've been some people would know me on different angles as different things. Like some people would know me as a totally respectable business consultant who's presents some kind of image of just a normal business person. Other people would see me as a wild-eyed revolutionary. Others as some mentally ill lunatic, or as somebody lazy. Some people might. Oh yeah, that's one of the things. Because of my attitudes have changed on my views on things, it put me kind of against most of what's normal and even American or Western culture. Like my ideas about work and compulsion and all these things that we don't have to. My disbelief in money and jobs and work and schools that everyone takes for so important, and the fact that I'm kind of have this like iconoclastic role. I thought was because cut.